What is up, Portland? Thanks for being here tonight, and welcome to Crime Adjacent Live. Longtime listeners know this, but newcomers, you have a job tonight. Listen like a profiler, because everything I'm about to tell you, every detail, it all matters for solving this case. So it's just shy of midnight on Saturday, February 13th, 2010, in Temecula, California, a small ranching and vineyard town between LA and San Diego, when Greg Wilson sees something along the side of the road as he's driving home. Or more accurately, he sees someone. Even though it's dark and there are no streetlights in this rural section of town, he can see that this someone is clearly a young woman, wearing a short skirt and a white tank top and no jacket, which is odd because it's getting down to freezing at this time of year and this time of night. And Greg, driving along, is suddenly torn. Does he stop? Does she need help? It looks like she needs help. And would she even accept help from a strange man on a lonely two-lane road close to midnight? Would you? Greg slows down, debating with himself. Stop or keep going? Stop or keep going? She seems fine, he thinks, or is she stumbling? Maybe she's almost home. Maybe she just likes to walk. Is she drunk? I can't tell. Greg is alongside her now, and all these thoughts are smashing into each other all at once. Stop or go. Stop or go. What should he do? What Greg finally decides to do that night, alone at midnight on this desolate two-lane highway, will not only change his life forever, it will help unravel a horrible mystery that has plagued this town for years. Okay, profilers, let's dive straight into this case because you won't believe what happens next. Live from Portland, I'm Chase Patrick, and this is Crime Adjacent. So every other week, Greg Wilson, a 43-year-old stay-at-home dad, and a crew of two other stay-at-home dads cut out for a Saturday night to catch up, knock back a few beers, and just hang out without any kid duties. That's what they were doing this Saturday night back in February 2010. That's what he told police at the time, and that's what he told the Temecula Times, which covered this case from the beginning and is the main resource for this story. Greg said it was a normal night. They all hung out at Pauline's Tavern on the commercial section of Highway 79. Greg said he knew he was driving home and had two different children's birthday parties to attend the next day, Sunday, so he nursed one beer all night, laughed with his buddies, and they all left at about 11:45 p.m. His two buddies reported the same story to police and even the newspaper. Greg gets into his Toyota Camry and is barreling down Highway 79 within seconds. But this road is strange. In town, it's 3, sometimes 4 lanes wide, and it's chock-a-block with big box stores and restaurants and gas stations and malls. But on this part of town, the south side, Highway 79 narrows to a 2-lane highway with tight, twisting turns and rolling hills and a real rural vibe about it, with ranches and fields. It's beautiful. But it's also desolate and totally deserted at night when Greg's driving. And that's why Greg finds himself suddenly conflicted on his drive home, because he sees this young woman walking along the shoulder of the road near the intersection of Onza Road, and she's sort of stumbling, really. She's got this oversized bag, and she's clutching it with a crooked elbow, and it's pulling her downward. It's a mess, Greg can see. Greg told police later that she looked drunk or on drugs, something. And she wasn't wearing much, just a white tank top and short skirt, and Greg is thinking it's cold already, close to midnight, and it's only going to get colder. And he knows there's nothing out here. The commercial part of this highway is done. No more stores, hotels, just a winding road for miles and miles. Maybe she lives in a house close by, he thinks to himself, one of those vineyards or horse ranches. Maybe she's almost home. And so Greg is passing by at this point, and this all happened so fast. And he said later he had a million thoughts running through his mind. He said the bystander effect even came to mind. This term comes from the 1964 murder of Kitty Genovese in New York and how dozens of people heard her screams, but no one did anything or called for help. Everyone thought someone else would do something, and so, in the end, no one did anything. So Greg thought of this and began asking himself, should he stop? Ask her if she needs a ride. He has a 5-year-old daughter at home, and he's already imparted to her what we all impart to our kids. Don't talk to strangers. Don't get into cars. He thinks about this as he's passing this young woman, like she'll just say no. Don't scare her. She's fine. Maybe she's almost home. And so, he keeps driving. And as he passes her, Greg eyeballs the rearview mirror, and he remembers the white tank top and these thick curls of brown hair sprouting from her head like a fountain, upward and down across her bare shoulders. I should turn around, he thinks. She's so young. She shouldn't be out here. It's dangerous. She's stumbling. This is a highway with no shoulders and blind corners. So Greg slows down, keeps watching the rearview mirror. He rounds a corner on this twisty road, and then she's gone. Just like that. Greg drives a few more seconds, thinking, should I stop, keep going, stop, keep going, and suddenly, coming around a corner, he sees a car. A cop car. Greg said he breathed an enormous sigh of relief, like, phew, okay, decision made. The cop will handle it. Someone who knows what they're doing. So Greg drives home and forgets about this young woman by the time he arrives. All is well. So the next morning, he starts getting his daughter ready for this first birthday party of the day at a bouncy house play space type thing, and he checks the news, and he stops dead in the kitchen. He can't believe what he's reading. In the Temecula Times online edition, there's an image of a young woman with impossibly thick curls of brown hair draping down her shoulders as if pouring from a fountain. That's her, he thinks. That hair, it's so distinct. The story was a local missing person alert in the news section. The family of Monica Bixby, a 21-year-old Temecula woman, had not returned home from a date the prior night. The police told them to wait. Maybe she just needed to cool out after a bad date, things like that. But the family knew better, and thankfully, the newspaper ran this short blurb in the morning. And so Greg, he immediately calls the police when he sees this. I saw her, he said, last night at about midnight on Highway 79. 2 police officers are at his door within a half hour, which might seem incredibly fast for a missing persons case, especially after police told Monica's family to wait to file any reports just that morning. But something had happened that morning that neither Greg nor Monica's family knew about yet. The body of a young woman was discovered by a trucker who stopped to pee on the side of Highway 79 near Onza Road at about 10 a.m. that morning. The trucker, Daryl Green, said he had a haul of lumber to San Diego and probably should have peed in town, but, well, he really had to go. So he stops his big rig in a way that blocks the view from the highway, walks a little ways into the scrub, and looks down and sees what he thinks at first is a fashion mannequin. I know what you're thinking, fans of Crime Junkie. I know, it's never a mannequin. Daryl strains his eyes. He can make out a short skirt, a white tank top, a river of brown curls. Daryl gets closer and realizes this is a young woman, and she's covered in blood. A lot of it. Something seriously bad has happened, and Daryl runs back to his rig and calls police, which is why these cops are now suddenly at Greg's door. It's quite possible, they told him, that he was the last person to see Monica Bixby alive. Greg is immediately distraught and racked with guilt. He told police he saw her, yes, but he didn't do anything or call anyone. He recounted that she looked wobbly, as if drunk, and was not wearing the right clothes for the weather, but he just didn't stop. He kept driving. He told them now how relieved he was to see the cop car that night, driving towards him, toward the woman he had just passed. He figured the cop would see her, stop, help, and Greg said he assumed that's exactly what happened. That's when Greg's story began to fall apart. Because these cops in his house said there were no records at all of a cop being on that part of Highway 79 during this time frame, a little before midnight. And Greg doesn't know what to say, and he doesn't like this shift he begins to feel in the questioning. You didn't stop? No. No one else on the road? No. You're the only one who sees Monica? Yes. And you're the only one who sees this alleged cop? Yes. Why do you look so guilty and sad? Can you prove any of this? Are you sure you didn't stop? Not even just for a moment to see if she's okay? What time did you get home? Can you prove that? Did anyone see you? What time did you leave the bar? Who was with you? How much were you drinking? The questions came hard and fast, and Greg honestly didn't know what to make of all of this. He said he felt bad enough already, thinking that if he indeed stopped and called for help, Monica might be alive. But because he didn't stop or call anyone or get involved in any way, he's now considered a suspect in a murder case? Greg said his head was spinning and he wanted to vomit, which only made him more and more nervous because he said police took his guilt at lack of action as guilt for something worse. But that was just the start. There were 2 police officers there. One, Detective Marcela Nunez, and Police Officer Gary Pinn. The transcript of this initial interview came from the court documents related to this case. Officer Pinn changed the subject. "Tell us about your arrest," he said. Greg turned white. He gulped. This was years ago, long before he met his wife, had a daughter, became a devoted stay-at-home dad, and volunteer at her kindergarten. He loved kids and his family, and he suddenly saw his world turn upside down. He said yes, he was arrested, but years ago. He was 18, and she didn't actually press any charges. You see, nearly 25 years ago, when Greg graduated from high school, he got into a drunken altercation with his then-girlfriend, Jennifer, at their sober night graduation party. They both smuggled alcohol into this party. Words were exchanged at some point, shouts, and even in the end, a shove. Jennifer fell down. She twisted her ankle. School officials saw this, called the cops, and Greg was arrested. He's right that charges were never officially filed, and Greg said he regrets this horrible encounter to this day. In fact, he never actually told anyone about this, not his current wife or current friends. But now these 2 cops in front of him are asking if he's ever been violent towards any other girls or women. Nunez and Pinn keep pressing, cornering Greg, really picking apart his story. Pinn told him, "I was on duty last night. There were no cops in that area. I would have known. So tell us, come clean. What did you do?" Greg, for his part, said he did the only thing he can think of once this new line of questioning got more and more intense. He repeated that all he remembers is seeing Monica on the side of the road and then calling police the next morning to see if his information might be helpful. That's it. He then told the officers to leave. Greg said in an interview, "I was freaked. I'm not a murderer, but you could see they had already started to form an opinion of me." The officers took his statement and told him gruffly not to leave town. They might need to meet him downtown at the police station for more questioning as this investigation continued. And the investigation did indeed continue, because Greg, it turns out, was not the only one to raise suspicions. According to Monica's family, the young college student with dreams of being a film director had a date that night. She was back in town from Los Angeles, where she attended USC, and she made plans to meet up with an on-again, off-again fling she dated, sort of not dated, from high school. This is 22-year-old Martin Swanson, a Temecula plumber's apprentice. According to Monica's sister, Monica and Martin were supposed to meet up at Pauline's Tavern at 8 p.m. that night. Yes, the same exact pub visited by Greg and his dad friends. According to Martin, they met, had a few drinks, chatted, and ultimately just went their separate ways. Martin said he had to get up early for work the next day, and he drove home. He said Monica told him she also had to get up early to get back to school and to help edit a film for a school project. Martin told police he was happy to see his old friend, and that was basically the end of it. Detective Nunez, however, wasn't buying it. She asked to see his phone, and Martin handed it over. And sure enough, beginning around 11 p.m., Martin began texting Monica. They were not the friendly texts of 2 friends who had just had a nice evening catching up and went their separate ways. Martin said things like, "I can't believe you just walk out. You're so stuck up. School has changed you. You're not the Monica I remember. Don't bother texting me again." Although Martin's texts continued and continued until about midnight when they suddenly stopped. This was, Nunez noted, about the same time Greg spotted Monica on the side of the road. And yes, I know what you must be thinking. I was thinking the same. Greg and Monica and Martin were all at the same bar, Pauline's, at the same time. Did Greg see her there? Follow her home? Bottom line, to clear this up, it's actually entirely possible that they had no idea the other person was even there, which is Greg's story. You see, this bar is separated into two main sections, with one wing having more of a restaurant feel and the other wing more of a bar feel. You can flow between these sections, but it's possible that unless you went to the shared bathroom at the same time, you might not even know people in the other wing exist. There are even separate entrance doors. Detective Nunez checked with the bartenders on duty that prior night. One, Stella Ramirez, said she saw Greg and his dad Buds in their usual space in the bar area, just chatting, laughing, very polite, not loud and guffawing or obnoxious in any way. The other bartender, in the restaurant wing, where Martin and Monica were, said she didn't really notice this couple until later, around 10, when it became apparent that things were not going well. Monica looked possibly drunk. Martin, also possibly drunk, looked frustrated, sitting with his arms crossed and this weird, intent look on his face, as if waiting for Monica to speak. This bartender said she checked in on the couple beginning at around 10:30, when their fight became obvious. But they seemed to cool out, and so the bartender looked away and went about her business. Around 11-ish, she noticed they were both gone. Cash splayed on the table. She didn't know if they left together or separately, she didn't see. But seeing Martin's text messages, Detective Nunez really went to town on Martin. In fact, she got a warrant for this phone and was able to trace his whereabouts all night. He said when he left, he went north in the direction of downtown in his apartment, but his phone showed he went the opposite way, south, towards Onza Road, where Monica was seen walking. However, and this is key, Nunez saw that Martin's location never pinged as far south as Onza Road, where Greg later spotted Monica. The location showed he quickly spun around on 79 and headed north. His phone was seen in his apartment for the rest of the night, and his roommate even vouched for him, saying he got home around 11:15 or so and stayed there the rest of the night. No doubt. Martin, for his part, said yes, he left the bar, he saw Monica walking, tried to offer her a ride, and then basically just left when she told him off. He said, "That's the last time I ever saw her, I promise."
You're listening to this podcast, so I know you've got a curious mind. Here's a helpful fact you might not know yet. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average. Pop over to Progressive.com, answer some questions, and you'll get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. In fact, 99% of their auto customers earn at least one discount. Visit Progressive.com and see if you can enjoy a little cash back. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who saved with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
So to recap, Monica and Martin have a fight. They leave the bar around 11. Martin tries to offer a ride shortly thereafter, but ultimately heads home around 11:15. Greg leaves the bar and his buddies at about 11:45, and he sees Monica walking on the side of the road, clearly wobbly, a little before midnight. He can't be sure of the exact time, but just before midnight, he thinks. According to the prosecution's timeline, this is the last sighting of Monica by anyone besides her murderer. And then there's Daryl, the truck driver who had to pee. He's the one who found Monica's body the next morning at 10 a.m. in a very concealed portion of the highway near Onza Road. The autopsy helped nail down a better timeline for her death, although it's ballpark, not what you see in movies and TV, at exactly this second. Given the condition of her body and the temperature of her and the temperature of the air, medical examiners believe Monica was killed shortly after midnight, probably not long after Greg spotted her. She had been bound at the wrists, very tightly. It would have hurt. She was sexually assaulted, stabbed, and then ultimately strangled with hands, not any type of ligature device or hard object. Detective Nunez said the thing that made this case extremely challenging was that the usual suspect in this case, the lover or the ex-lover, had a solid alibi, no matter the degree of anger he showed towards Monica at the bar. Based on his phone and driving records, Nunez got a warrant for Martin's apartment and found no incriminating evidence of any kind, especially blood. Importantly, there was no evidence of the killer found on Monica's body either. No hairs or semen or skin under her fingernails, which was not surprising given she had been restrained by something. Nunez was able to search Greg's home as well, and there were no signs of blood there either, or any evidence linking Greg to the murder other than he spotted her close to midnight. Nunez even checked Daryl, the truck driver, and found he was accounted for in Long Beach the night before his trip through Temecula. Detective Nunez wasn't officially ruling any of them out, but only because she had so little to go on. Quite literally, anyone driving on Highway 79 that night could have been a suspect. Nunez was at a loss. She had nothing. Until, that is, Officer Pinn reminded her of a case he had investigated about 2 years prior, in 2008. The Blue Light Bandits. Now, this was all new to Detective Nunez, as she didn't arrive in Temecula until late 2009. She transferred from Chico in Northern California, looking for a change of pace after a divorce. But what she heard sounded familiar. It happened far too often, including one case up in Chico from her own time as a police officer. Officer Pinn told her that over the span of a few years in the early 2000s, numerous women started coming forward to the police department saying someone with a blue light tried to pull them over while driving, like a cop would for a speeding ticket. But when these women pulled over to the side of the road, they realized the blue lights just looked different. The cars looked different, like not official. And then the men who approached their cars, they looked different, not groomed and professional or even in a uniform. 3 women said they immediately sped off and reported license plates to the police the next day. But 2 women, as far as Pinn and other officers could figure out, might be victims of these blue light bandits. Their homicides remain unsolved. The body of 25-year-old vet student named Mary Jo Nunez, no relation to the detective, was discovered in January 2005 about 500 yards from her car, which was discovered abandoned along Highway 79 near Anza Road. Her 2002 Honda Accord was found with the driver's door open, the window partially rolled down, the purse left on the passenger seat, along with a wallet and an ID, which had spilled from the center console with some cash and credit cards. No signs of a struggle, no blood, no evidence of any kind in the car. It looked as if Mary Jo simply pulled over, opened the door, and just casually got out. Her body was discovered about 500 yards away, not too far, really, from where Monica was discovered, way off to the side of the road behind a gentle hill where there was no real visibility from the road. There was privacy. The killer, it seemed, knew the area and somehow got Mary Jo to this area, where she was bound, assaulted, and then, ultimately, stabbed and strangled with bare hands, just like Monica. Pinn said that the car and the lack of struggle and the even set of footsteps near the car led him to believe that Mary Jo might have been coaxed out of the car by a blue light bandit. He said, think about it. Half rolled down window, ID out, purse and cash still present. This didn't look like a robbery or an assault. This looked like Mary Jo willingly got out of her car. Who else could make her do that? She wasn't alone. In March 2006, Linda Epps, a 23-year-old bartender at Sally's, a modern bar nearest to Pauline's, was discovered about 500 yards from Paula Road, which is about a mile south of Anza, same general area. Just like the others, the bartender and up-and-coming singer who was in the process of trying out for American Idol and dreamed of a big career, she was bound, sexually assaulted, stabbed, and strangled by someone and then dumped far enough off the side of the road that no one could see. Her car was discovered on the other side of the highway, stopped on a rare shoulder section. And again, just like Mary Jo, her purse and wallet and cash were all present. Her window fully rolled down, her door left slightly open. No signs of a struggle, nothing. To Officer Pinn and all the detectives, it looked exactly like a blue light bandit again. Someone pretended to be a cop, flashed lights, pulled her over, and somehow got her out of the car before moving her to the other side of the highway to this secluded spot. Hearing all this, Nunez immediately agreed. In fact, once Officer Pin filled her in on all these cases, she revisited them all, wondering if there was a connection to the murder of Monica Bixby. Nunez told the Temecula Times in an interview, "I had seen this before, in Chico, and frankly, I knew about this happening all over the country. I looked into this. The FBI doesn't keep records on this, police impersonators, but the idea of blue light bandits does indeed pop up every now and then, all over, just like Nunez said." For instance, in 2021, in Johnston County, North Carolina, a woman reported being pulled over by a cop flashing a blue light late at night. But when this woman stopped and then saw two men in black clothes and black masks exit a Dodge Charger, she simply pulled away again and later reported the incident to police. Interestingly, I found that in Georgia, back in 2008, the state police were trying to lobby for the ability to not have any light bars on the roofs of their patrol cars, saying they needed to blend into traffic better to catch speeders. So they sent out a survey to all police agencies asking if they had any run-ins with blue light bandits. 127 agencies responded to this request. 13 said they had reports of blue light bandits, and 2 of these led to arrests. So it's rare, but it happens. And again, Detective Nunez said she's seen this herself up in Chico, so she didn't rule it out here in Temecula. As an aside, I asked Nunez what to do, and so a PSA here, I guess. She cautions listeners, if they're unsure, to put on their flashers to acknowledge the blue lights and then drive slowly to a crowded place to stop, or even to call 911 to check that they are indeed being pulled over by a real cop. The more you know. During her investigation, Nunez said she was stunned by the similarities between Linda Epps and Mary Jo Nunez and even Monica Bixby. Now, Monica didn't have a car. She was walking, but she was clearly bound at the wrists and assaulted and stabbed and strangled manually, and then her body dumped along a highway hidden from view. All these cases felt familiar and alike, and Nunez's estimation of the case files led her to believe someone knew what they were doing and was a very real, dangerous, ongoing threat to the community. The crime scenes were calm. No signs of a struggle, no evidence left behind anywhere, no witnesses. Even the wrist bindings were later removed by the killer, leaving no evidence behind, and leading Nunez to believe these restraints were the killer's, not something he found in the cars or on the victims and then used. The more she dug through the files, the more she discovered all these strange links between all these cases. But something about Linda Epps' death in 2006 really stood out. Epps was a bartender at Sally's, which is close to Pauline's, like in the same shopping mall area. Nunez dug through all the old witness statements that were taken from that night, and one name caused her to gasp. Apparently it was a slow night at Sally's, which isn't as nice as Pauline's, so detectives were able to track down every single person there that night, including a group of buddies who gathered there once a week just to meet up. And one guy in particular not only gave a statement to officers when he was tracked down, he later called in to ask how things were going with the case. He said he and his buddies knew Linda, and they were concerned. And that guy knew Father Greg Wilson. Nunez said it was like a light bulb moment. We know people sometimes try to insert themselves into cases to either see where things stand or to throw investigators off the trail. Was that what Greg was doing? What are the odds the same guy is with 2 different women on the very night they're killed? So Nunez immediately picks up the phone and calls Greg. She says they need to see him downtown at the police station. They have more questions. But Nunez doesn't want to spook him, so she says they need him to identify a possible suspect, hoping this ruse might bring him in. They're not after him, they're after some mysterious driver, and they need to know if Greg saw him. And Greg, once helpful, is suddenly no longer helpful. He declines. In fact, he tells Nunez that if she wants to speak with him again, she'll need to go through his lawyer. For Nunez, this sets off alarm bells, like she's onto something. Someone trying to be helpful and check up on murder victims doesn't stonewall suddenly and go straight to a lawyer. Personally, and this is me speaking from the perspective of someone who covers all sorts of crimes and has a former police detective for a sister. Hi, Nikki. I would lawyer up too. In a heartbeat. No doubt. Even if I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that I didn't do anything, if police are getting hinky with me, they can talk to the crime-adjacent lawyers. Yes, I know this makes you look guilty in the eyes of the law, and yet, at the same time, we all have the right not to incriminate ourselves. I get it. I'd do it. I have done it, like in Ridgewood back in Season 7 in the rest stop killer case. So all to say, I don't actually have a hard time siding with Greg here. But for Detective Nunez, this is a setback, which is also why cops hate to see it. Because she doesn't really have anything on Greg. She was hoping, in all honesty, to get him downtown and break him, to get him to confess, to present him with these weird coincidences of being around 2 murder victims on the nights they died, and just hope that he cracks. Still, she thinks she's onto something. Officer Pinn checks in, says he can help recanvass the murder of Linda Epps to see if they can find any stronger links between her and Greg. So off they go. Nunez rereads all the witness statements, all the crime scene analysis, all the forensic evidence they have. She even goes down to the medical examiner's office where she meets with Dr. Mallory Green to go over all the cases in detail. Green says these are all brutal murders. She remembers them well. She thinks they might even be by the same guy, given the consistent crime scenes and then the evidence of assault and stabbing and strangulation, just as Nunez was thinking. Then, Dr. Green points to their wrists. She says, I always thought this was a blue light bandit because of this. The marks on each wrist are consistent. Each red band is the same size and shape and leaves behind the same bruising patterns on each woman. Dr. Green said, I can't be sure, of course. It could be anything, but ropes or cables or different types of binding, they leave behind varying patterns and sometimes even threads or fibers. But these, Dr. Green said, these look like handcuffs to me. It's just a hunch, but that's what it looks like. This would absolutely match the MO of a blue light bandit. Stops a car, gets a driver out of the car, handcuffs them, and then it's all over. He's in total control at this point. And then he removes the handcuffs after the assaults and murders. Nunez immediately requests every single report of a blue light bandit in town. And she can't find any. No one has reported anything at all for years. They think Linda Epps and Mary Jo Nunez were murdered by a blue light bandit because Nunez said she froze. She was sitting at her desk, rifling through all this evidence, when the thought slammed deep into her cerebral cortex. It couldn't be, she thought. She said she was working on the theory of a blue light bandit being responsible because someone told her about this. Someone who inserted themselves into this case. Someone who did indeed throw her off, got her chasing mysterious phantoms. Nunez was new to the force, and she admitted she was a little scared about this revelation. How could she get the evidence she needed, she wondered, without raising any alarm bells? After all, if she was right, well, she didn't want to contemplate it. She hoped she might find what she needed to either rule this person in as a suspect, or she hoped to rule them out. Not knowing who she could trust in the department yet, Nunez actually went outside of the police department altogether, something she learned in her time in Chico. So instead of going to any superiors, she went straight for the city attorney's office, to the city attorney herself. She told the city attorney to pull all police records for the past 10 years. Who was on duty, when. Just say they're putting together a citywide salary survey or something like that, as new contracts would be coming up to a vote. This was a lot, for sure, just reams and reams of information, when in reality, Nunez was after just 3 nights in particular. The nights when Mary Jo Nunez, Linda Epps, and Monica Bixby were murdered. And sure enough, she discovered exactly what she feared, exactly what made her freeze up. There was only one police officer on duty for each of these nights, for all of these nights. Just one who worked every single night shift. Officer Greg Pinn. Detective Nunez quickly went back to the night of Monica Bixby's murder on February 13, 2010. Detective Nunez suddenly recalled that Officer Pinn had really went to town on Greg Wilson during their initial interview at his house, accusing him of lying about seeing a cop car that night. It was Officer Pinn who told her that he was downtown at the time, not in the vicinity of Onza Road. And she, of course, believed him. She didn't even check, to be honest. She just heard him say this and didn't think twice about it. Of course he was downtown. Why would he lie? But lie he did. Because when Nunez checked his call log that night, she discovered that he was called out to the Galway Equestrian Facility for a disturbance at 10:55 p.m. It was a petty, drunken argument between two equestrian show jumpers, and it ended in no arrests after Pinn heard them both out. No big deal, really. But the thing is, this horse facility is nowhere near downtown, where Pinn said he was that night. It was, in fact, just south of Onza Road. If his call logs are accurate, Officer Pinn left the horse facility at 11:51 p.m. that night, which would have put him on Highway 79 at right about the same time Greg Wilson had spotted a cop car going in the opposite direction, in the direction of downtown, and in the direction of Monica Bixby. Nunez felt everything click into place. It was Pinn who said there were no cops in that area, putting himself far away from Monica's murder scene. It was Pinn who tried his best to pin it all on Greg, called him a liar and basically a murderer, shaping the early stages of this investigation. And it was Pinn who kept inserting himself into this case, even suggesting it might be part of a blue light bandit problem the city had been struggling with, even though there was no evidence of this from what Nunez could tell. And it was Pinn, of course, who would have handcuffs, just like the murderer. In fact, it was these handcuffs that would lead to his demise. Because although Nunez did not have enough evidence to arrest him, she did quickly gain the backing of Police Chief Teresa Bustamante, who did not like where the circumstantial evidence was pointing, but absolutely wanted to check it out, at least to rule out one of her officers. After all, she said, the police are there quite literally to protect people, not to hurt them, certainly not to murder them. And she had indeed seen police officers using their authority to get away with everything from sexual assaults to murders to blackmail. You name it, she'd seen it over her 30 years in the police department. She said, not on my watch. And so they got Pinn into an interview room to help investigate all the evidence, they said. Nunez asked him to say where he was that night, and he did indeed admit to being at the horse facility, but much earlier in the night, like 7 p.m. He couldn't remember, he said. This was enough. Bustamante labeled it a lie and interference with an investigation, not yet an arrest. She took his gun and badge, and most importantly, his equipment. And wouldn't you know it, a thorough forensic examination revealed specks of blood deep in the locking mechanism of his handcuffs, and this blood matched Monica Bixby's. Officer Pinn denied any involvement in the murder, of course, but he was not only quickly suspended, he was arrested, and not just for Monica's murder, but for the murder of Linda Epps and Mary Jo Nunez and a woman named Clarissa Barnes, a 19-year-old UC San Diego student who lived in Del Mar, an oceanfront community south of Temecula. She had been pulled over, her car abandoned, and her body discovered on an abandoned beach road, secluded from the main road by shrubs and berms. And how do they know Pinn was responsible for this murder? They found her ID in his house following a warrant search of his premises. Nunez suspects Pinn might have gotten wise after this, his possible first murder, because he stopped taking IDs after this. Barnes' ID is the only one found in his house, and all the other women had their IDs and their cars are still on them at the time, like Monica. But Pinn, he couldn't help himself from taking other souvenirs, like a hair clip that Monica's sister gave her lucky hair clip for her gorgeous brown fountain of curls. Epps' mother identified a ring, and Mary Jo Nunez's sister identified a necklace. This was it. They had him. 4 murders. Pinn did exactly what Greg Wilson did and clammed up, refusing to speak, ever in this case, even at his trial, where he was convicted in 2012 for the kidnapping, false imprisonment, sexual assault, and ultimately murder of each woman. He is serving, a lot of time in California prisons as we speak, and is not eligible for parole. ever. Monica Bixby's parents said they are grateful to Detective Nunez for her work on solving this case and answering all their questions. They did indeed think Greg was responsible for a period of time, or maybe just a traveling motorist on Highway 79, or even a traveling serial killer. Who knows? It seemed so random and sudden and horrifying. Monica's sister told the Temecula Times she's not sure how she or others will be able to trust the police again. After all, the person who kidnapped and assaulted and murdered Monica when she was clearly struggling and in need of help was the very person sworn to protect her, to help her. Greg, for his part, was also left with the horrifying realization. He didn't call police that night as he was driving by, and Monica was murdered, something that plagues him with guilt to this day. But if he had called in to say there was a woman in need of help that night, who do you think would have shown up? Who was the only cop on duty in that area that night? That's right, Officer Greg Pinn, who became known as the Temecula Highway Killer. Thank you so much for coming out tonight, Portland. This has been great. We will see you in San Francisco next week, our hometown, with another case you simply will not believe. Until next time, I'm Chase Patrick, and this is Crime Adjacent. Thanks for coming.